Good morning, Internet. How's it going today? Craig Chamberlain with Wisdom Worth Knowing. So, I have no idea what I'm doing yet. This is going to be my first, wait a minute. I don't know what it, just so you know, this is kind of like a dry run. I've been wanting to do this for a while. Oh, cool. I see myself in this little screen. Here in the background. Although I'm a little delayed, so that's awkward. But I've been meaning to kind of put together a live stream as part of the Wisdom Worth Knowing deal. So I have no idea how well you can hear me. I actually looks like I can see your comments here, which is quite awesome. But I don't quite know what the format's going to be. I think the format's mostly going to be just have a coffee in the morning, just kind of hang out, and we'll talk about the most popular posts. I'm not quite sure. I may do morning devotion, just to kind of give something constant and consistent. I'm a huge believer in consistency for growth. You know what I mean? Like the same messaging over and over and over again. Unfortunately, in our culture, we have a tendency to put the wrong messaging in our heads over and over again. It's so much easier to do, It's like it's easy to get into the negative feedback loop, especially on social media. So feel free to leave comments, because I'll probably make those part of the discussion. So right now it is January 7th. It is 6:19 a.m. So let's take a look in the book here. The book I'm going to be reading from here is one of my favorites. It takes me a little bit of full disclosure here. I am a Christian, which is a prerequisite to my faith is that I have to not have to. I love everybody equally. Right? So that's a prerequisite of my faith. So, as a Christian, I'm going to be doing a utmost for his highest devotion on the morning live streams. And if you don't want to participate in that, totally fine. That does not offend me at all. And I'm totally okay with that. One thing I do try to do on the page, the Wisdom Worth Knowing page, is I try to share what I would call timeless wisdom. And that's the truth is we can get wisdom from anybody, pretty much any source. And I grew up a skeptic most of my life. When I was I really didn't become a Christian until my mid-20s, I would say. So I grew up mostly an agnostic. I didn't really believe in I think I always kind of believed in God, but I never really believed in any specific. So part of my journey was, it meant a lot to me when people would treat me with respect, even though I didn't fully accept anything yet. So I think that's an important part. Not to mention, I learned a lot from people. I read like Nietzsche. I read, I've read almost every atheist writer out there. As well. So, there's like something you can learn from everybody. So it always kind of bothered me that there was people feel like they have to box themselves in with only reading certain authors and who already agree with you. Not a lot to be gained there. I told you there would be technical difficulties. So, one of the reasons I do like Oswald Chambers, who's the author of this devotion, is because he says things like this. He emphasizes the relationship above all else, and this is something that is always a challenge for me. It's like no matter what happens throughout the day, it can be real easy just to kind of lose sight on what the most important thing is, and that is like. A lot of my prayer life is just having a conversation, with God. And most of the time, I'm like my biggest enemy with this. But this I want. It says here at the end, it says, the only impression left by such a life is that of a strong, calm sanity that our Lord gives to those who are intimate with him. And I can honestly tell you that the most constructive conversations I've had with God are like in my car, when I'm by myself driving. That's a big thing for me, is like when things are just overwhelming or frustrating or exhausting. It's just one of those. Really, that's probably the best time I have with God, when I'm sitting there just having a conversation. And I learn a lot about myself through those conversations, because most of the time I'm generally wanting something in the world to conform to the way I think it should be, or in my life. And generally speaking, that's not how God works, at least in my experience. Is a lot of times I just need to accept things the way they are. And that's always a challenge, as you kind of get older, because you have like these, especially when you're younger and growing up, you have these expectations on how things are supposed to go. And that always, let's just say reality comes in, sorry. It's pretty rare things go the way you want them to. So that's a good one. So if you want to follow along with this, actually, you can go to the website, utmost.org. They actually do these daily. So if you want to review these daily, you can actually go to the website, and they'll actually tell you what the daily one is for that. Now, if you have any questions or any comments, while I'm reading it, or have your own thoughts, feel free to share. Also, you can share after the live stream's over, of course. So let's see here. I'm drinking out of my Rocky Mountain National Park coffee mug this morning. If you haven't had a chance, highly recommend Rocky Mountain National Park. And I do want to thank you all for your feedback I've gotten so far. The feedback on the page has been really, really good. I do read it all. So if you do leave comments on the posts, be sure to check back, because I do like to comment back occasionally, especially if you ask questions. For the most part, I kind of like to let people have their own conversations. And I do know that one of the main reasons for the page is just to kind of, a lot of it's for me too, is just to reiterate things that have really helped me grow in terms of like these basic fundamental timeless principles, especially for personal growth. Things like discipline, which, man, I wish I could be more disciplined, but I'm becoming increasingly convinced as I get older that the most successful people, and I don't just mean like wealthy, although the wealthiest people I know, just like the happiest people are the ones who like embrace that discipline concept. Like I've met people who are in super good shape, and I don't think I've met anybody in super good shape who's not disciplined. I could be wrong. I've met people who are wealthy, super disciplined. I've met people who just seem to be happier, and they're on a really good, well-structured schedule, So that's a big part of it. But I've got a long way to go, but generally speaking, anything discipline is, what seems to work really well for me is like I'll pick like a trigger, like a small trigger point. And for example, I've been trying to become more physically active. So for like push-ups, I know it sounds silly, but every time I use the restroom, I do 10 push-ups. It's like you'll just use some kind of daily trigger that kind of gets you going. Like this morning, I'm going to do my morning coffee when we do the live stream. And obviously the big part of that is it's a good trigger point for like setting up good habits, And what are if you're watching this video live or later, what do you do? Like if there's probably some area in your life in which you are well disciplined. Like generally we all have something that we're really good at. And the motivation comes easily with certain things. Like there's obviously things like exercise in which motivation just doesn't come easily. But what do you do in those areas? Like what's your trigger for kicking in a habit? Or do you have any ideas of what triggers you might use to develop that habit? I'm just kind of curious what's worked for all of you guys. It just kind of depends for me. Like sometimes I'll use like something as silly as using the restroom to do push-ups, or like this is a good one because I have coffee every morning. So, and I guess the secondary part of setting up a good habit is like accepting the fact that it's not going to be perfect. You know, like there's going to be failure points. Like you're not a robot. You know, it sounds funny saying that out loud. Like when I was growing up, I didn't think about myself as a human being. I think it's because I worked with computers for a living, and my technology never failed me. It was always good at being consistent. But like as a human being, like I fail all the time. So like I don't have a robot's discipline, obviously, because I'm not a robot. But accepting failure as part of the process was always a challenge for me, especially early on. So, well, I'm going to let you guys go for now. I hope you have a wonderful day. And I know it was sloppy, but this was my first go at it. I will value all of your feedback on it. Things you like, things you don't like. Not sure if I'll keep doing the devotion because I don't want to make people feel alienated. You know what I mean? Or maybe I'll pick up something that's a little more neutral. I'm not sure. But I do like to go in depth on some of these topics. Another thing I'm probably going to start doing is I want to kind of go over, or we'll just kind of discuss the most popular post of the week or of the day from the day before. Because there's certain things that just seem to tap a nerve, which is kind of cool. Because like I'll post something on there that I didn't think, people would care for, and then like it gets a whole bunch of engagement, and I'm like, oh, apparently people are relating to this. So maybe we should kind of dig in and talk about that. I'd like your thoughts on that too, if you think that would be a good topic point. But anyways, thank you for stopping by. Hope you found this fun. And if you want to, you can subscribe. You can follow the link in the description as well. The subscription is only $1 a month. And that's really to kind of cover all the cost of advertising, because Facebook doesn't let anybody see your stuff unless you... It's funny because you go through all the trouble to get the likes and followers or to get people to like your page. And then you post the stuff, and then the people who like your page don't all get to see it unless you pay them again to show it to people. So, and if you don't subscribe, it's not a big deal. The other option is if you like to read, or you don't like to read, and you like the idea of reading, follow the link below to get your first book for Audible for free, because Audible has saved my life, because I've got a wife, 2 kids, full-time job, and I used to love reading, and I just have never had the time. So now I use Audible. My buddy introduced it to me with the book Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Fantastic audiobook, by the way. But man, I got hooked because I can pop in like an earphone at work, and I can listen to a book in the background, or I can listen to it in the car drive, and I can get like 30 minutes to an hour of a book a day. And I'm not in a life situation where I can sit down and actually devour a book. And you could do fiction, nonfiction. But in the link below, it's a free trial, and if you sign up for it, it actually helps the show. But you get to pick any book. I mean, it can be George R.R. Martin's Game of Thrones, which is like this thick, and it's like 44 hours. Or you can actually get the Bible as your first book, which is normally like $40, right? You can get one of my personal favorites was Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Ready Player One, if you're a geek like me. I love the audiobook for that. The Martian, which is also a fantastic fiction book. Somebody said, just talk in live, then turn back to talk with yourself in the laptop. Oh, that would be pretty funny because I'm on a delay back there. So I could just sit there and have a conversation with myself and be like, that wasn't that smart. But anyway, sorry. I'm like, ooh, shiny. The Martian, fantastic audiobook. Oh, hi, Mom. My mom's watching. I really liked The Martian. And right now I'm actually going back through these old Dragonlance books, which you're probably nobody's heard of those, but it's an old fantasy novel. It's a whole bunch of novels, it's like 200 books in the series. But anyways, check that out, and I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll probably see you tomorrow. So let's see if I can figure out how to stop this thing. I've never actually done it. Thank you. If you have any questions, just message me. You can actually message me. There's a finish button. Have a great day.